courtroom, and we covered a case involving a young woman named Skylar Richardson, who was in high school, got pregnant, hid that pregnancy from everyone, her friends, her family, and then either gave birth to a live child and murdered it, or had a stillborn child. And that's what the trial was all about. So she was charged with murder. Something that came out during the course of the trial, though, was an argument made by prosecutors and investigators that Skylar Richardson had, in fact, burned the baby. After giving birth, murdering the child, she then burned the child. And they said that she confessed to it. Well, as it came out in evidence during the course of the trial, we saw that alleged confession, and it was clear to everyone watching, including the jury at the end, that this was actually a false confession. So based upon all of that, it was the moment of the verdict for Skylar Richardson, charged with the murder of her own newborn. That is our third biggest moment of the year.
Please hand the verdict forms to Mr. Mullins. In advance of the reading of the verdict, I want to thank each of you for your service. After this, you will be discharged from your service. You'll be returned to the jury room, reunited with your electronic devices. I have a couple of minutes that I would like to talk to you, and then we will get you on your way. You will be able to speak with anybody about the case that you would like, but you are not required to do so. Whether you decide to speak to anybody is a matter of your own free choice. Would the defendant please rise? With regard to count one, we, the jury, in the above captioned case, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of aggravated murder, and there appear to be 12 jury signatures affixed. Verdict form 2, involuntary manslaughter. We, the jury, in the above captioned case, do hereby find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of involuntary manslaughter. Count 3, child endangerment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of child endangerment. It does say we further find the defendant did not cause serious physical harm to the alleged victim, but that finding is not necessary as a matter of law. Verdict form number 4, we, the jury, in the above captioned case, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, guilty of the offense of abuse of a corpse. Ladies and gentlemen, are those the verdicts of the jury?
Yes, sir.
You may be seated. All right, again, you are now discharged from all your service. Does either side wish to have the jury polled?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you will now be returned to the jury room. Thank you for your service. Mr. Mullins is going to give you back your phones and such, and I will see you in a couple of minutes. You may be seated. We are on the record outside the presence of the jury. Anything additional from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything additional from the defense?
No, Judge.
All right, the court will order that the verdict forms be filed. I will draft an entry accepting the verdict forms. I'm going to set this matter for sentencing tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I will order a pre-sentence investigation between now and then. So court services will conduct a pre-sentence investigation. They can tell me that they can get that done between now and tomorrow. Bail for the defendant is hereby revoked pending sentencing. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 11 o'clock. That's all.
An incredibly emotional verdict, unlike any that we saw this year on Court TV. Skylar Richardson, abuse of a corpse, was sentenced to 7 days in jail, time served, so she was released the next day. So let's talk about this, because this, from my perspective, was a complete rejection of that investigation with that false confession on the one hand. On the other hand, that baby should be alive. I mean, Skylar Richardson did nothing to ensure the health of the baby, that child that she was carrying, because when she went to the doctor, that heartbeat was strong and ready to go. She did nothing to save that child. She didn't tell her parents, who were right there in her home with her. She never returned to the doctor for the prenatal care that that baby needed. All right, let's bring back in our think tank. Let's start with the moment of a verdict and how you prepare for that. I mean, this is a young girl young woman who clearly was extremely emotional throughout the case, but at this moment was breaking down, trying to understand. How do you prepare for that? How do you prepare with a client for that?
There's no more difficult moment and time slows down than when you hear the knock on the door, the jury has a verdict. You just tell the client, whatever happens, try not to break out in emotion. I did that in a case, and I broke down crying after I told the client not to cry and the family not to cry, because it's just, you're working hard, you believe in the case, you believe in the client, you've fought hard, you've argued to the jury, you've fought with the court, the prosecutor, and the verdict comes, and you're just overwhelmed with emotion, especially if it's a good verdict, right? And you get to know your client after a couple of years, you know their family, you meet everybody, and they become part of your family. And it's a very, I can't even compare it to anything else. It's an extremely, extremely intense moment in anticipation of what that verdict's going to be. It's horrible, actually.
I think an attorney can do his or her very best to prepare the client, whether it's a good verdict or bad verdict. But one thing an attorney cannot do is guarantee the outcome. And there is no way to guarantee whether a client is going to react badly or jump up in exhilaration and go woohoo if it's a good verdict, or just break down crying. I have seen defendants who are so traumatized by a bad verdict that they actually start screaming profanities at the judge or at the jury, and they have to be taken out of the courtroom. Or if you have a well-prepared defendant who just looks at the jury stoically and has absolutely no emotion, that's when you say preparation comes through.
Her reaction, Randy, what does it tell you about her? Does it tell you that she's relieved, that justice was served, that the truth was found in this case? Can we read anything into that?
I think so. She's obviously tormented. She was suffering no matter what. She suffered already. I think the verdict was secondary to what she's already gone through, the shame in her community, the shame in her family, what she's put her family through. But to see the verdict, there's nothing more riveting than that, because there are plays, there are movies where the end is already written. This is the play, this is the theater of the live, and we're all riveted because none of us know how it's going to end until those 12 jurors decide. They know a few minutes before we know, but we all find out together. And what a powerful moment. What a good reason to watch verdicts, and a good reason to make sure prosecutors don't overcharge. They overcharge us. Had they said you didn't...
Or elicit a false confession. I had major problems with the way investigators did that